All right, everyone. So this is our final installment of our nutrition webinar series with the one and only Lindsay Rosen, my beautiful and wonderful sister-in-law. She is a registered dietitian, graduated from NYU in getting her master's, and Penn for undergraduate. For those who have watched our previous couple of webinars, she's been awesome. And we are intending to further engagement with her to help offer some more services to our clients in this space. So stay tuned or reach out if interested. But today, timely with year end and everyone's starting to make goals and plans for their year end health initiatives. I know I am. So I'm going to turn it to Lindsay. She's going to talk today about a half hour, small steps towards a healthier you. And of course, any questions, shoot me a note and I can ask as she's going, but we'll try to keep it right around a half hour. And we'll share this with you. So this will all be memorialized. You don't have to take notes if you don't want. So, all right, Lindsay, drop some knowledge on us, would you?
Sure. So today we're going to discuss some small changes that you can make to make big changes in your lifestyle and health. So I'm going to just go through some small tips, and like usual, the goal here is for you to just take a couple of these tips and run with them. And the point is that if you can just make some small changes in your everyday diet and lifestyle, it will lead to long-term success. So the first tip that I recommend is to keep a food journal. So the point here is that you want to write down what you eat, so your intake. This just really means that you become more mindful and aware of what you're eating, why you're eating something, how much you're eating of it. So this might sound really tedious, but it's just an exercise and not something to be done long-term. So it's an exercise that really forces you to stop and think about what you're doing. It applies to eating, it applies to so many other facets of your life, but it just makes you be more mindful. And this information is really important when you're trying to replace some of your existing habits. So when you have this information written down for you, you can go back afterwards and look at what you're doing. So for example, you pass a chocolate bowl in the office and you grab a Hershey Kiss, and you don't even realize that you're doing it. It's just something that you do when you walk by. When you are forced to write it down and you're forced to stop and think about what you're doing, you might be able to reflect back on these actions and say, you know what, I really wasn't even hungry. Why did I do that? Oh, because it was right there. Or maybe it forces you to write down, how much you ate at dinner time, and you realize that I really didn't need 2 bowls of pasta. I would have been fine with 1, or one and a little bit more. So that's one small tip for you.
Lindsay, I know you've done this even with me in the past, and it's actually, it's both depressing and eye-opening to some degree. What you had me, if I recall, use an app. They even took this a step further and told me all the calories I was eating, and I really hated that.
Exactly.
What was the? Give a recommendation for an app or two?
Yeah. So an app that I usually recommend is MyFitnessPal. And the reason for that is because they have a really good platform. It's free to the users. You can upgrade and pay for a monthly subscription, but the free one just gives you the food journal aspect. It allows you to analyze your intakes. You can look at your total calorie intake for the day, for each meal. You can break it down in terms of macronutrients. And the reason that I encourage my clients to use it is because I can gain access to your food log and then look at it and help you analyze it a little bit and give you some feedback.
Right. That was it. MyFitnessPal?
Yeah, P-A-L.
Yeah.
Pal.
Okay, thanks. I think that's a good tip.
So another tip is to practice the 80-20 rule. So what this means is to focus on cleaning up your diet or eating healthy 80% of the time. food is fuel. Food provides calories. Calories are a measure of energy. It's literally the gas for your body. But, you want to fuel your body with healthy and nutritious things, but you also want to enjoy what you're eating. And maybe you're not like me and you don't love a big bowl of salad and a lot of vegetables. Maybe you don't even enjoy that stuff at all. So acknowledge that the other 20% of your daily intake is for fun, and that, it's okay to balance out what you're eating, and it's okay to eat a cupcake, or, I'm using a cupcake as an example just because there's not much in there in terms of, protein, vitamins, minerals. So not the most nutritious things, but balancing out your intake.
Yeah.
So the point here is that if you deprive yourself entirely, you'll be tempted to overdo it later on, and that will cause you to overindulge. So if you make it a rule that it's acceptable to eat nutritiously, but also balance it with things that you mentally enjoy, you won't feel deprived.
And I can attest to this one as well, Lindsay. Having a registered dietitian in the family can be very depressing when you get together and she is enjoying eating beets and celery and yogurt, and I have no interest in any of the following. And
exactly.
But you lead by example, so I appreciate that.
Thank you. So another key tip here is to not skip meals. So when you go long periods of time without giving yourself fuel, without putting gas in that car, your blood sugar is going to drop. When your blood sugar is low, you'll be less likely to make healthy food choices, is the point. So the key here is to eat every 3 to 4 hours. You want to keep your blood sugar consistent. Like I said before, food is fuel. You want to constantly be putting a little bit of gas in that car so that your blood sugar is stable, so that you don't get dips in your energy levels. And having balanced blood sugar is important for regulating your hormones, triggering your body to burn stored fat, and increasing your metabolism so that you can manage your weight easily. Versus if you go long periods of time without eating, your body will go into what's called starvation mode. And this is where your body conserves calories, stores fat, and actually burns muscle instead of fat for energy. So I don't know if you guys can see the image there, but basically there are some ways that your body signals to you that your blood sugar is low. So you might get a little bit shaky, a little bit jittery. You'll feel hangry, as they call it. So you start to get a little bit of like anger because you're just hungry. Your vision might be blurred a little bit. You might even get a little bit sweaty. So the thought here, blood sugar is something that I talk about often with my patients that have issues regulating their blood sugar. Maybe they're diabetic, but really all of us need to have stable blood sugar levels so that we can have consistent energy throughout our day and don't have to be focusing on what we're eating or other things that are not productive in our everyday life.
So Lindsay, stay here for a second for me.
Yeah.
Talk about what's the diet? The intermittent fasting, right? Which is kind of against everything you're just saying in theory.
Yeah.
Right? It's eating in a very narrow window, and people lose a lot of weight with it and swear by it. But you are, obviously saying the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, you know me well enough to know that I really don't. I don't buy into things that are not sustainable for the long run. So everything that I preach is going to be things that you can do now and do in 20 years from now consistently. So, like you said, people do have success with intermittent fasting, but I mean, if you're able to do that for the rest of your life, go you. But if not, then it's just, I would advise to just make some changes that you can stick with, like eating a balanced breakfast when you wake up or whenever you feel hungry, and, consistently eating every 3 to 4 hours so that you keep fueling yourself.
Makes sense. Okay. Thank you.
So the next tip here would be to cut down, not cut out. So what this means is to just reduce your portions of less healthy foods rather than removing entire categories. Like I said before with that 80-20 rule, rather than, never touching a cupcake, for example, again, knowing that it's something that you're going to eat for celebratory purposes or every so often. Another example would be, which I have on the screen here, is, if you really enjoy pasta, just reduce the portion of the pasta that you're eating, especially if it's like a white refined flour pasta. So reduce your portion from 1 cup to maybe a half a cup, and then add more high fiber vegetables to bulk up that pasta dish. So getting in more nutrients. So really just, don't take away food categories or things that you enjoy, unless of course you don't enjoy them, and just cut back on your serving and add other things to help fill you up.
Makes sense. I like that these are intuitive. These are, like you said, Lindsay, these are all lifestyle food things.
Yeah.
I always said, never eating bread again is probably not realistic. Never, but if you can make small changes and things that you can adopt to a lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes sustainable.
Exactly. So the next tip here is to eat a balanced breakfast daily. So like I said, as far as not skipping meals, don't skip breakfast. Eat a morning meal to get your metabolism started for the day. Balance your plate with a high fiber carb, a lean protein source, and a heart healthy fat. So I've listed some examples for you. So as Andrew knows, the top one is one of my favorites, a plain Greek yogurt mixed with some fruit, maybe some berries, and a heart healthy fat, maybe some chia seeds, hemp seeds, a tablespoon of peanut butter, whatever you like. Another example would be a smoothie made with a cup of unsweetened almond milk, some fruit, maybe half a banana, some protein powder, and a healthy fat like peanut butter, chia seeds, and the like. Otherwise, 1 or 2 slices of a whole grain bread with some avocado and some eggs.
It is well known and documented in the Rosen household that if you want Lindsay to come visit, better stock your fridge with Greek yogurt.
Yes.
or else there's no chance she'll visit.
It's one of my top 3 favorite foods, so you know me well.
Sally mine's pizza.
That is also a known fact. So the next tip is to decrease your sugar sweetened beverages. So you just don't get the same satisfaction, the same satiety from drinking your calories as you do from eating them. So I would urge you to reduce the overall amount of ounces of sugar sweetened beverages you consume on a daily basis. So if you usually start your morning with a glass of orange juice, cut back to a smaller cup of orange juice. You can also dilute your fruit juice with some water or some sparkling water like seltzer. This is a great tip in terms of getting yourself to increase how much water or carbonated water you consume. It will also help you to acquire a taste for water if that's not something that you usually drink. As far as getting in your water, ways to make it more exciting are to add some slices of fruit or even vegetables like cucumber, mint to your water to help enhance the flavor. If this is something that you like, you might want to let it sit in like a pitcher or something overnight so that it can kind of marinate and enhance that flavor. And then if you're looking for more of like a sweeter flavor, you can make your own unsweetened iced tea with decaf or herbal tea bags and sweeten it with some stevia or, a plant-based sweetener if necessary.
Lindsay, I've heard all sorts of crazy amount of water suggestions that you're supposed to intake in a day. Like it's borderline waterboarding. How much do you recommend consuming? How much water should one really consume in a day?
So I feel like my answer is not going to surprise you based on everything else that I've said. And I feel like you're thinking that I'm going to tell you a number, but I'm not going to tell you a number. So my suggestion would be, how many glasses of water do you currently consume?
Right.
So how many?
Oh, I know. I fill up my water bottle, I don't know, couple handful of times a day. I don't know what this is, maybe 24 ounces or so.
Okay. So basically my answer is, if you told me, I know I should be drinking a lot of water, but I get in, 1 bottle per day or 2 bottles per day. So those bottles, let's say, are 16 ounces. Each bottle is about 2 cups. So if on average you're consuming 4 cups of water per day, then my recommendation for you would be aim for 5. Once you can master that, once you're comfortable with that, aim for 6. So to gradually increase your water intake, ideally, I would say 8 cups of water per day would be great. Maybe you need a little bit more depending on your body weight, but really my suggestion is wherever you're at, add 1 more, master that, add 1 more, so that you gradually get to more water.
Sure. Progress, not perfection.
Exactly.
Well, good, because, you read online. Yeah, you have to
That
drink.
brings me to my first tip here. So these are just some tips that I'm gonna hash out a little bit more. But the first would be to drink 1 extra glass of water per day. So
Okay.
again, wherever you're starting at, just tack on 1 more cup and see where you get to. Another tip would be to swap out low-fat regular yogurt for the Greek yogurt. I've spoken about this before, but that Greek yogurt has increased protein. So with traditional yogurt, what they do is they take it, they strain it, they keep all that whey. That's where all the protein is. And that's how Greek yogurt is so much richer in protein. Another tip would be to try 1 new healthy recipe per week. So this could be maybe you order in or go out often and you want to attempt at cooking something yourself just to try to eat a little bit more nutritious. Or maybe you do cook, but your recipes are not the cleanest, not the healthiest. So try to revamp that one. Another tip would be to use fresh herbs and spices instead of table salt to flavor your food and to decrease your sodium intake. So just cut back on the amount of salt that you're using when you do cook. Start your meal with a simple salad to help increase your vegetable intake. That obviously increases your fiber. It's going to help fill you up. It also guarantees that you get some veggies in at that meal.
Lindsay, what are the best salad dressings to use? Because sometimes you do these salads, and then next thing you know, these dressings are worse than having a pizza.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So, personally, my recommendation would be to make your own vinaigrette. I happen to love the taste of balsamic vinegar, red wine vinegar, lots of different vinegars. You can just mix that with some olive oil, some salt, pepper. You can use different types of mustard if you like mustard, and mix it with your vinegars like Dijon, stone ground, honey mustard, whatever you like. If you do not love those types of dressings or don't really want to make it yourself, I would say just use a little bit of whatever dressing you like. Be mindful of how much you are using. And then if it's not enough to, dress your salad, mix that with a vinegar, for example, just to help stretch it out.
Okay.
So, if you really love some commercial Italian dressing or a ginger dressing, use a little bit of that and then something else.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Another tip would be if you do add sugar in your coffee to decrease the amount of sugar that you're using. If you make smoothies, add some spinach or some veggies to it just to up the vitamin and minerals in there. If you traditionally use mayonnaise on your sandwich, use mustard, salsa, balsamic vinegar, hummus, avocado, something else. So this next tip here says stop eating after 9 p.m. So that's not a hard rule. It's a general guideline. So the point is, set a time for yourself that you're going to be done with the kitchen. That could be 7 p.m., that could be 9 p.m., that could be 11 p.m., whatever it is. But just, stop eating after a certain time. And obviously this is a general guideline and not something that's set in stone. And the point here is that, if you make it, I'm going to stop eating after 7, we eat dinner at 5:30. And, if I need a little snack afterwards, 7, I can grab something at 7. If you find that at 9, you're still awake and you're genuinely hungry, and that's different than being bored and looking to just, munch on something. But if you find that after that cutoff time, you still are genuinely hungry, it's okay to have something, but try to set some boundaries in the kitchen.
Right. Makes sense.
Another tip would be to use smaller plates to reduce your portion sizes. Like we've said before, you eat with your eyes first. So if you have a large plate, but just a little bit of food on it, you're going to feel like you want or need more. Whereas if it's on a smaller plate, that plate will be filled up and, you'll be mentally satisfied.
These are great tips, and you could take and implement these today, which I love.
Exactly.
I
So,
love that.
I think this is the last slide and I'll go through this quickly, but the point is that, pick a couple of these things and really run with them. And once you've mastered those, add a few more to your lifestyle. And these are things that, you'll feel and you'll see changes in both your health, your weight, your mood, just by mastering these things. Okay, so measure out appropriate serving sizes. So, when, for example, a cereal calls for a half a cup and you just pour a little bit in your bowl, perhaps you don't know what a half a cup looks like. So whatever it is, measure out the serving sizes of different items to see if you usually stick to that amount, and to also then later be able to eyeball appropriate serving sizes. Pay attention when you eat. So this was the first tip that I had said, but basically when you're eating, try to just eat. I know that this is not always feasible. Sometimes you're, on a work call and you're just getting a few bites in between, or you're in between different tasks and you're just trying to quickly eat. But try to have one meal a day where you're just eating and not doing other things at the same time. Try to actually enjoy your food. You might realize that you don't need as much as you do, or that you don't like what you're eating. Just try to be in the moment of that activity. Another tip would be pack a brown bag lunch one time per week. Again, similar to the cooking one healthy recipe per week. Try to bring your lunch, whether it's to work, to school, one time per week. That way you pick exactly what's in there. Swap out white starches for whole grain alternatives. Again, to bump up the fiber in there. Choose cereals with at least 4 grams of fiber per serving. A lot of cereals are pretty high in sugar, so look for ones that have at least 4 grams of fiber. That way it gives you some staying power and you actually feel satisfied.
What's your favorite? Give us your favorite.
I happen to love higher fiber cereals, like Bran Buds is my favorite. And I mean, I do like the sugar sweetened, the yummy cereals too. Different types of Cheerios, I like whatever it is. I usually just use it as like a topping on my Greek yogurt. No shocker there. Just something, or I'll have it as a snack and just pair it with something that is a little bit more nutritious to round out the meal or snack.
Okay.
Eat at least one plant-based dinner per week. This way you guarantee that you are getting in your veggies at least one dinner per week. Cook with half the amount of oil as usual. So be mindful of how much oil you are using when you cook and use a little bit less. I mentioned before, but 1 tablespoon of olive oil, which is about the size of the tip of your thumb, so really not a lot, is 120 calories. That's a really easy way to just cut back on some of the calories that you're consuming. Swap sugary milk chocolate for antioxidant-rich dark chocolate. Or if you don't like dark chocolate and you like milk chocolate, just cut back on the amount of milk chocolate that you're consuming, since that is the one that's sweetened with sugar usually. Try 1 new vegetable and 1 new fruit each week. Add 5 to 10 minutes of physical activity. So maybe it's not feasible for you to add another day of exercise into your weekly routine, but maybe you can tack on another 5 minutes to the days that you already are being active. This is usually not much of a inconvenience. 5 minutes, we usually have about 5 minutes, 10 minutes maybe. So that's a key one. and then getting into bed 10 to 15 minutes earlier each night to slowly get in more sleep if that's not something that you are strong with.
These are great, Lindsay. Really.
Good.
Okay, so this is the last of the slides, yes?
Yes.
Awesome. And perfect timing in the sense of New Year's resolutions, and we will have this shared with all of our clients and our database. But first of all, Lindsay, thank you for donating so much time to us over the past couple months and
My pleasure.
educating us and give us these usable tips that we can implement in our own lives. Super helpful and valuable. Additionally, as I said in the beginning, we want to do more with this as we care about our clients, as you know, health, wealth, and happiness, because it allows them to live the most enriched life and maximize and utilize their finances. So we are going to continue with this theme and offering things through Lindsay and other services that can benefit the trio here. But reach out if you want us to put you in touch. And like I said, we are working through some things on our end that we'll release next year where we can have some more synergy and offer more for our clients. So thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And say hi to Lee for me and for everyone watching. We love you. We are grateful for you and wishing everyone a happy and healthy and peaceful and wonderful holiday season and new year. So until next year, thanks all.